Good morning, everyone. You are very welcome in this morning Tertulia. Today is April 18th, Sunday, 2021, and this is the morning Tertulia number 242. I'm Eduardo Bortoleto. I'm a volunteer at IIPC more than 15 years. I teach Conscientiology for 12 years. I'm graduated in communication, social communication. And today is a very special day because we are starting the morning tertulia with simultaneous interpretation into English and Spanish. So I'm very happy to be here. And those in the YouTube channel, you have the possibility to select your language, English or Spanish. And those who want to listen to my talk in English or Spanish are very welcome. And people from other countries can follow online, real time, this lecture. The theme today is the self-motivation work-leisure trinomial. And this is a research line. I'm researching for more than 10 years. I'm writing a book, I'm structuring a book, and I'm trying to understand this trinomial. And I want to share with you what I have understood so far about it. And I will bring some questions and comments to amplify this understanding. So before I start with my slides, I always wanted to understand, if I can summarize, this trinomial has to do with your feeling, to feel good during your daily life or your routine daily. And what is very complicated, very complex in my life, but I deal in a very easy way, and what is complicated for me also in my daily life. So the first point is about the principle of disbelief. Don't believe in anything. In what I'm going to tell you here, experiment. And here I have the definition from the Verbet, from the encyclopedia, and it says that this trinomial is the experience of the interference of these three elements in a condition to develop your proaxis in a continuous way, making yourself more sufficient and effective as an independent researcher. So we are self-motivated on what we are doing because what we are doing is a leisure, is a pleasure for us to do. So we will try to understand how this works in our daily life and how we can go deeper into this proposal. And we are the first to benefit from this trinomial. So I want to exploit a bit every element here. So talking about motivation, how people have researched this aspect. So we are going to talk about Plato and Aristotle, and we can say that it originates from 3 points. The first one is the appetite related to hunger, sex. And this is the origin of our motivations. The second aspect are the social standard, honor, shame, everything we relate ourselves with other people in our daily life. And third point is the elevated, the reason, the discernment. Aristotle goes in a very similar line. The first one is the nutrition, impulse and maintenance of life. The second one is the sensitive, is the search for pleasure and avoiding pain. And the hedonists always search for this, the maximum pleasure. And the rationality comes from the ideas, from the intellectual aspects. And then when we read our colleague, Reeve, he proposed, after these three approaches, we had three big waves starting motivation. So the first wave was with Descartes in the 16th century, 17th century, and their proposal was, if we understand how the will works, we can understand how motivation works. So let's research about will and we will understand the motivation. And at the end, they understood that will is a mysterious issue, and we cannot understand why people have so different will in life. So the second wave came with Darwin during the 19th century. He brings the theory of evolution of the species, and he thought, if I have the genes, I have some physical elements influencing the behavior of people. So if we can understand the genetics, I can understand the motivation this person has. So let's research about the instinct. This second wave evolved, but they had some difficulties. For example, if the person goes in a group, this is the herd instinct. But if the person is alone, this is a social instinct or antisocial instinct. So we could not place the behaviors into categories. And then we have the third wave in the 20th century with Freud. He brings this approach from the impulses. So we have a nervous system, and we need to have a stability for this system. As we receive energies, we generate needs, and we need to fulfill these needs. So, for example, hungry, the body loses stability, and at some point I need to eat. The criticism against this wave were, for example, nervous anorexia. The person has an instability, but even though the person doesn't eat to fulfill this need. So these have been the most important waves involving several researchers on this line. After that, we did not have big waves, but we have theories still used today. One very famous is from Abraham Maslow. He says that we have a pyramid of needs, and we need to fulfill these needs. As you fulfill the basis, you go to the next step. So on this basis, we have the physiological needs, sex and need to eat and to drink. So these are basic physiological needs. If you don't fulfill this level, you cannot go to the next one. If I don't eat, I cannot start properly. After physiology, we have safety. If if you feel, if you fear something, you cannot do other things. You are worried about your safety. Then we have the social relationships. If I have fulfilled all these needs from the basis, I can then have this feeling of belonging. Then I go to the next stage, which is this team. So what is my role on this context? What should I do? And finally, we have self-actualization, realization. Then I will act on something much bigger, a macro objective. So there are some criticisms regarding this pyramid. In this example about the nervous anorexia, the person is hungry, but the person doesn't eat. It can be, for example, because of the social relationships, and maybe for stimulus to get to be slim. So it doesn't make sense for everybody. This is one of the criticisms. And then we have the Mihaly. This is a very difficult name. He's a Hungarian psychologist. And this psychologist, he did bring this theory of the flow theory. So he said, well, we don't have these moments you are thinking, but happiness is when you are following a flow. You place your energy and then you are happy. The person, somebody think, well, I solved one problem, my financial problem, for example, and then I will be happy. But this is not true. The flow is I'm working on one objective and then I can have this sense of happiness. So he brings here one example that in this flow, you need to have a balance between the challenge and your skills, your abilities. If you have too high a level of skills and a small challenge, this is not good for you. If you have a big challenge and not enough skills, you have anxiety. So you have to balance these 2 points. For example, a person in a volunteer work at Conscientiology, for example, she has to clean a bench table. The person is able to do it and she will be or he will be happy. But with the time, if this challenge doesn't increase, the person will feel bad without motivation. So if she changed the function, she changed the volunteer work, then she will be able to take a bigger challenge. But if this challenge is higher than she can take, she will have anxiety because she's not in this flow. And here at the end, you see that the person develops the abilities and goes along this flow. So this is the first approach I wanted to bring, just to start thinking about these theories about motivation. I think these are the main theories about it. So within this context, when I started studying this trinomial, the first doubt I had was if the will is the strongest power of a consciousness, why this trinomial is not will, motivation, it will work and leisure. So This was the first difficulty for me to start this trinomial. When we start the definition of motivation and will, they are actually mixed. We have difficulties to differentiate between them. We actually mix the concepts. So I'm proposing here a definition to make this distinction between the two things. So will is the act of wanting, choosing. I decide, I choose. This is will. This is my strongest power. So let's consider a car. The wheel is the steering wheel, and you accelerate and you give the direction to this car. The motivation is the fuel of the wheel, is the engine of for the wheel, because it imprints the content, the shape, the intensity of the speed. So the power of the engine will depend on this. So it makes a big difference, the engine of the car. So the motivation gives you this idea how fast you want to go. So this analogy maybe help us to understand this. To give one example, in practical terms, I have one example here. For example, the will to learn other languages. So I want to study English. How can I understand my motivation to learn English? I have here some categories, which are the quantity, the category, the qualification, the stimulus somehow, and the lucidity, and the type or the origin. So I want to analyze motivation from this point of view. So we have countless wills. Depending on the amount of motivation, the priorities change. For example, I want to learn a language, an English language, but I want to go out, I want to rest a bit, but according to my motivation, I give priority to one or another. For example, a person with a low quantity of will not start studying. So you ask the person, you want to learn English? Yeah, okay, but you enrolled in an English course or you watch some videos in English? No. So you have a will, but your motivation is very low. And I want to comment one book, Voliciothérapie from Gustave Teles. He talks a lot about the process of will applied to consciential therapy. And his approach about will are according to what I understand here and bring to you. So the quantity of your will interferes. If the person is really motivated to learn English, the person will enroll in a course and go to internet and watch videos, and so this is a high motivation. The category can be simple, which is something, it fades very quickly, and sometimes the person is full of will or motivation, but it goes away very fast. And the composed motivation is a mature motivation. It's something you structured, you have it on a mental somatic basis. And it has to do with persistence, and you really go along this way. So the qualification can be cosmoetical or anti-cosmoetical. I want to learn English, for example, just to make bad use of it. And this is anti-cosmoetical. And to have higher or low motivation doesn't qualify it. So the incentive or the stimulus is if it's internal or external. So you have external stimulus from your parents, for example. The father says, well, you have to study English, to learn English. So the motivation comes from an external stimulus and an internal motivation. I want to improve, I want to become a polyglot, and so on. Lucidity, you can have it at a conscious level or unconscious level. For example, I want to travel throughout the world, so I need to learn English, but it can be also unconsciousness. For example, I want to prove to my parents I can make it. So unconsciously, I want to prove something. Or this comes from past lives. For example, if I have a past as an English nobleman, I have this inside myself. And the type, the origin, I have here from the soma, psychosoma, or mental soma. I will explain this better later. For example, the somatic motivation has more to do with the stimuli. And I will show this in the next slide. So here is was a practical example to show the types of motivation, their origin. For example, hunger, it generates the will to eat, the decision to eat. But how the will transforms into action depends on my motivation. For example, if I'm not motivated, I will not eat. I have the will, but I have no motivation. If it's just somatic, it will be very instinctual. I want to eat fried foods and carbohydrate and high cholesterol. And this is just the somatic motivation on instinct. When I have a psychosomatic motivation, for example, I care for my appearance. It's emotional. For example, I eat a box of chocolate, the whole pack of chocolate. And this is not, it's a way not very intelligent. And then we have the mental somatic motivation, which is very irrational. So what is the best way to fulfill my hunger? I want to think about the future well-being, and I have the habits, and I translate this will into a good action. So if you want to send your questions, feel free. But this was the first theoretical part. So work. We talked about motivation, now we are going to talk about work. I don't know if you know, but work is a word coming from Latin, from tripalium, which is a torture instrument in the Roman times. And this image I got from Wikipedia. And this is the instrument. And just to remind you, the relationship between work and torture. We have two basic types. We have the workaholic, the person who is addicted to work. Without work, the life doesn't work. She needs to work and all the time. And we have many reasons for that. The person is escaping from family or other people, or the proaxis. Some people deviated from the proaxis because of the work. And the person leaves behind all these aspects of proaxological programming. And the other end is the good life, the person who doesn't care and wants to have a good life. So not a relationship with work which is not appropriate. So these are the two extremes, and they have this tendency for robaxis, for this existential robotization. And the person lives just according to the work. The work is the most important aspect. So the person doesn't live 10 years, but she repeats along 10 years the same pattern. And the balance would be this good combination between work and proaxis. The work is not the proaxis itself. It is related to it, but some people give more value to the profession than they should. Do you have a question, Douglas? Yes. Well, exactly on this point, the work related to proaxis. I would like you to comment about the profession as an opportunity for group karmic recomposition and the proaxis based on the strong traits. Okay, thank you. So I will get your answer, your question, sorry, because the answer is here in one slide. So the first point you bring is the work as a group karmic recomposition. The group karmic recomposition is part of your work. We have more things in our work, it's not just that. And I say that the person who doesn't have a good relationship in the work has other things, other points to evaluate. So I say here, work is an opportunity for development. You have the opportunity to learn something, to become an expert on some aspects. So the first thing is that. The second is the generation of benefits. But you can argue, no, but my proax is another one. Well, but your work generates good things for society, for other people. We have to understand that we are many pieces in a whole process. For example, I work in a company and I do a small part, but this person is a mini piece in a company, and without this person, the work will not be possible. And the other point you did mention, the opportunity for seriological reconciliations. Everybody we interact has something to do with our past and with this process of reconciliation. And we have to see life as a big opportunity for that. We now have understanding, and we can clean up a lot of things from our past. So every work can be existential, But you can argue, well, my boss is awful, he's a bad person, and so on. But what can you do to improve the environment of your work? So the helpers are here to help us. And it's an opportunity to clean up these energies and to improve the patterns. Everybody understanding about this has the responsibility to improve the environments. We have more lucidity now. In our work environment, we should be an example. We should take our responsibility to clean up, to improve this. I can think, well, I will do Penta the whole day and I will isolate myself. No, the process is to work the energies, but to see the opportunities we have to improve things. So do what you need to do. Some people argue, well, I want to change my work, but it's not possible. So you have to solve what you want to solve.
Good morning, Eduardo. Good morning, everyone, the debaters, the Tertulians. And as you said, this is our first morning Tertulia with simultaneous translations into English and Spanish. And we are grateful for this assistance by all CEAEC's volunteers. And of course, these guys are assisting a lot of CIs, and they are an example relative to this trinomial. So congratulations for you. And we have some questions on chat. How can we increase motivation, please? I'm going to answer that. And then I'm going to talk about the existential program, and then I keep answering the previous question. How can I increase motivation? There's no other way than self-research. You need to understand how you work. How do you act? And this is a constant process. You need to recycle yourself continuously. Imagine that we are a bucket full of water. You wake up happy, and then this bucket has a lot of holes. And what are these holes? Resentment, hurt, anger, and so on. All of our self corruptions that we are not perceiving just drown our energies. Despite waking up motivated, these things just spills out. As I recycle, I simply fix these holes in the bucket. For instance, if I am hurt with someone, I start forgiving the person, and you fix that hole in this bucket, and it stops drowning your energies, and you keep your motivation. So, first, self recycling in order to overcome these blockages. And because if you stop, it's going to impede you to evolve. But talking about motivation, you need to rationalize your motivation. So you need to bring rational thinking and objective thinking. And when we're talking about this trinomial, the motivation, in order to keep it, you must be in a bigger flow. When you have a greater goal in your daily life, when everything that you're doing is a part of something bigger, for instance, the intermissivist has a connection with the maxi proexis, which is very important to your life and this planet. When you understand that you are part of it, you enter in a flow, in a synergy. And this connection makes the motivation continues. If my motivation is to buy a cup, oh, I bought a cup. Okay, I bought it, and now I no longer have a motivation. So if I have a max price, group max prices, and I want to buy the cup, okay, it's a part of a process. And it's a part of a bigger process. So in order to keep your motivation in a high state, you need to understand that you are a part of something bigger. Good morning, everyone. Congratulations for this work. I'm a witness of your effort in this research. Very nice. I'd like to make a relation between self-research and the non-ideal conditions like workaholism and also good life, and on the other point, the proexis. Could you say something more about the condition of putting effort on workaholism is related to this escape from the responsibilities, for instance, the proexis, which is the more balanced situation? And what are the traits that stimulate the persons to go towards workaholism or good life? Okay, let's go. Uh, Everything that is related to work, well, there is a balance. That's not a problem if I need to dedicate a little bit more to work. I have a project, I have a deadline until the end of the month, and I need to work more. Is this a problem? Not at all. The problem is when you prioritize only the work and forget other things, and you do not focus on the priorities. So in our proaxis, we need to work in a wholesale way. We must write, we have the just cons, and we have a lot of things to do, not in a sense of obligation. It's very good to do all these things. People that use the profession as a shield to avoid taking responsibility, and this is related to many things. So the person is using the profession to as an avoidance. It's like then the golden cuffs, because the salary is very high and the person focus only in the profession and forget about the praxis. But the profession, just like this life, it ends. Just like a person that work with furniture, building furnitures, and when he or she goes to the extra physical dimension, there is no longer wood there for you to build furniture. Profession is a part of our life. It is important, it is essential, it has its role. But the one who is focusing exclusively in the profession, you're missing some important points like the essence of your presence. And the only way to figure these things out is to research in yourself. You need to stop and think. If you do not stop and think where to you're going, then you're going to regret. But it's better if you stop now and make a reflection. We need to know what our values are. So, one of the chapters of a book is about values and principles. What are yours? Do you know how do you perceive them? It's not only thinking, oh, my value is assistance. No, you need to take a look at your schedule. What have you done over the past weeks? Oh, I'm working too much. Okay, so this is your value right now. Oh, but I need to earn money. Okay, so this is your value. Take a look at your schedule because your values define your schedule. Good morning, Eduardo. Thank you for the invitation. Congratulations for the presentation. It's very good. I was thinking about the previous question. Uh, so there is a person that has a greater motivation to work and forget about the other parts of life. But on the other hand, motivation could also be a compass that shows the path, the direction. Well, because sometimes the person uh, is doing an activity and starts to get saturated. The person gets tired. So, talking about motivation, in which situations it can work as a compass? Okay, we can talking about intraphysical melancholy, which is milling. I'm working, I'm in a job, and sometimes I begin to feel depressed. Why? Because the person perceives that he or she is in the wrong way and it degrades the motivation. So our resources are not infinite. I need to eat, I need to sleep, I have time to dedicate my things. And if I dedicate everything with the wrong parts, not exactly wrong, but not aligned with this praxeological compass. So this lack of motivation can be a sign. Ooh, pay attention, that's not good. On the other hand, when we're in this flux, max praxeological flux, your motivation increase. But of course, you need to use your rationality because sometimes we are very motivated to do something. I'm in proexis and I'm very motivated. Not really, because maybe you're feeling fine and your compass is not that aligned. Uh, just saying something else, when you're in the proexis flow, remembering a Waldo sentence, when you're when you're when you're on the right path, you use half of your resources and achieve the double of the results. We have some questions in Portuguese, but talk. I'm going to ask a question in English. In some cases, can the existential program overcome the work? For instance, a professor or a volunteer. So, Melanie, the work can be extremely existential, polykarmic, and help in many different ways. Let's not mix proexis with work as an essence. So the work must be a part in your proexis, but not with an exclusive focus. Conscientiology is also very important to lead you to self-research and for you to check yourself. Are you okay? You need to know yourself. We're like an onion that we're peeling. And every time that you take a layer away, you reach another layer. So the self research is very important. So in order to evolve, you must know how you work. But now, existential program. Uh, I just discovered a vaccine for coronavirus. And okay, you're acting in polycharmality. It may be your proexis. But now I have a question for you. Nowadays, in these planets, the lack of information relative to parapsychism and multidimensionality and our essence as consciousness is huge. So, if you understand that, could you have a role to work with this, to write a verbate, to work this? If for you this is not only a theory, so the intermissivist in Max Proexis, we're born to help the planet to evolve. And what is the essence? How can you act on it? So, working with cleric task is essential for us. If you understand that you're an intermissivist, you cannot put these things aside. You need to find a way, a time to dedicate to conscientiology and balance it again. Balance between proexis and work. Okay. Please, you tell me when I need to stop the question here. Please, you let me know. We have one more question, which is a very good one. Paula Matos is asking. In motivation, how can you perceive the change between instinctive and mental somatic? How can we perceive? No, how can it switch? How can you turn it? There is no other way, Paula. We must stop and think about it. There's no other way. You need to stop and face it. I need to eat better. What should I do? Because the instinct is something that simply is aroused, pop ups. I want to do this, I do. I want to do that, I do. So, for instance, this intake nutrition. Stop, research, buy a book, attend a course, go to a nutritionist, someone that can guide me. And then the quality of food begins in the supermarket. Because if you're going to buy a chocolate or an ice cream, you're going to eat this. And if you buy only healthy food, so in your place, you're going to have only healthy food. So make a list, plan that, and then go to the supermarket. The human being adapts, you know. I have here a book about prescriptions to self intrusions. The human being may adapt to anything. What about adapting to evolutionary things? For instance, I used to have coffee with sugar. Nowadays, I take coffee without sugar, and now I think that it tastes better. Okay, the idea is really to stop drinking coffee. But the thing is, we adapt, and you can feel the pleasure with a healthy food. I love salad. I really like salad. And I really like it. It's not something like I suffer, ooh, I should eat salad. No, I learned how to have this pleasure by eating salad. So this is mental soma. I can plan myself to do better things. Okay, so let's focus on the slides. And then you ask Douglas, okay? Oh, Douglas, okay, you can talk. Just talking about Melanie's questions. She's aiming polycarm, but there's also the group and ego karmic aspects. Sometimes you are in a profession which is very existential, but if you're entering in a burnout, maybe your personal or inner complex is just blipping. But sometimes she's not even entering in a burnout, but she's stagnated, she's stopped. And sometimes she may be questioning herself, oh, I'm not giving my full potential. And the more we evolve, the happier we are. The more we evolve, the easier things get. So, of course, we need to do self-research to that. You need to stop and reflect. Why are on these roadblocks in my daily life? I can't perceive these things. So I need to really stop and think. So, Eduardo, another question here, then you go back to the slides. What two people may have the exactly same routine, but the difference may be the different level of multidimensional lucidity. For instance, same routine in the volunteering job, in the work, profession, family, but sometimes one takes more responsibility in proaxis, and it's going to make a huge difference in the process. So, talking about self motivation, work, and leisure, sometimes we need to recycle that as well. For instance, when I was working in a company, we went to the kitchen and to grab some coffee. And when I was there going to the kitchen in the company to drink coffee with a colleague, we were talking and we were having fun. And the other people, the other employees, when they go there to get coffee, they started complaining, oh, I need to bring the coffee to everyone. So, everything that bothers you, how can you face it in a different way? What should you recycle to deal with that in a different way? So, let's come back to this presentation. Another point here is the opportunity to this connection with function helpers. So your work can also give you some lucidity because, for instance, a physician, a surgeon, they have a specific function helpers for this profession or for this activity. So you can act in a very positive way. And about the leisure, when we take a look at more rudimentary societies and indigenous communities, they were working more with leisure. They don't have a break, a specific break for leisure. So for them, it's like a mixed thing. In the antiquity, the leisure was an activity of the elite. So it was, so we was working sweating was not part of the elite. So in the 15th century, religion began to condemn idleness and emphasize work as ennobling man. Leisure has become a source of guilty and unproductiveness. So if I'm working here, I can reach higher levels or go to heaven. So many people have their leisure period, and sometimes they feel like they need to be excused or they feel sorry for that. And they start talking about and trying to explain the type of the field. So the healthy leisure is not you are not wasting time because you're relaxing and you're gaining consciential health. So the 18th, 19th century industrial revolution. So working more than 12 hours a day from Monday to Saturday with very low wage, including women and children. So the leisure starts to gain some value, some importance. In 100, in 1802, the English government had to intervene with a humanitarian law to prevent children from working more than 12 hours a day. So it was excessive that manipulates your life. So the relevance of leisure has increased. So it is in a book. The heroes were soldiers and saints in the 10th century. Currently, the heroes of the masses are athletes, actors, singers, reference of leisure times. So the leisure really gained relevance. So we defined here the leisure in three types. Pathological leisure, it harms you or someone else in some ways. So if I have a leisure activity and I'm harming someone, like fishing. Oh, I love to fish, but the fish is not in have fun. You know, the hook in its mouth. I can assure you that the fish is not in having fun. A healthy leisure is important because you can relax and you gain consensual health. Watch TV, series, a soap opera, but you're relaxing. This is important. In our evolutionary level, it is important to have a leisure that you can relax and switch your mind block. An evolutionary leisure is something that we must pursue. This morning, Tertulia here is an evolutionary leisure. I'm feeling a lot of satisfaction and pleasure to be talking here to you. So, this is the evolutionary leisure. So, Isa, do we have any questions? Yes, we have another question from Melanie. So, if the intermists choose the wrong professional or workplace, could the person be not completing the proexis? Work takes a lot of time in the intermissivist's life, so the type of work has an impact. So the work can deviate from your proexis. Yes, like we have anti-praxeological professions. For instance, a factory that build weapons. This is anti-proexis because you're going to create new interpretations. But it's connected to a pathological bellicose. So this is not nice. But if you have a job that you don't like, but it allows that you make assistance because you're earning money, you can help your family, you can improve yourself, it's not going to stop your proexis. But if you're not happy or content with your work, change. If you're not happy with your work, change. You can go to live under the bridge, but don't stay stuck in a place that you're not feeling happy or motivated. And you need to plan the change. So I'm going to plan, I'm going to work in this as much as I should. And then you prepare yourself to leave a job and plan to enter in another one. So sometimes we're guided by the instincts and the emotion. No, I'm going to leave this job right now because of this or that. No, take your time, change your profession, switch your profession, and plan that. It's like it's semi-open.
We have to remember this concept about this cosmoetical infiltration. For example, somebody working in a company producing alcoholic drink, and this doesn't mean that the person will be an incompletist. It will all depend on the qualification of the person and the possibilities to face to play this role as an infiltrator. Yes, this is a very good approach. We need to be lucid about it, but we have to be careful regarding the other people who are not so lucid about it. So this context about infiltration is a very advanced condition. Probably we are talking about somebody with a very high level of lucid projection and with a very close relationship with the helpers. So let's go ahead. We are going to talk a bit about this trinomial, what it is not. So the first thing, dolce far niente. It's nice not to do anything. So I'm in retirement, I can enjoy life. We are not talking about this. It's not doing nothing. It's not a moment of pleasure. Good food, sex, and comfortable life acquired by the money you have. It's not what we are talking about here. Sometimes people get confused or mix up these concepts about happiness and the possibility to buy good food and comfort, to have a good life. So this is something different from the trinomial. The false symbols of happiness, fame, fortune, power, beauty. It's very common to look at the backyard of your neighbor and you think, well, this person is so happy. They have money and a nice house. So we have many examples about this. In one house, you can say, well, a wonderful, a nice, beautiful woman with fame and money, but at a very bad level of pathologies. And if you think about, I will apply this trinomial when I have enough money. No, it's not about that. We are not talking about this. And there is a verbet about parapsychis saying that the veteran parapsychist leads to an awareness of indifference to the honor, positions, prestige, distinctions. So as you develop your parapsychis, you don't want to be a max piece of something. You amplify your manifestation and you understand. And the more important is what the priority in terms of consciential evolution. So what is my priority? What is my agenda now? And we have this term, cosmoetical eudaimonia. I don't know if you know this term. I did not know about this. So this is the condition of the consciousness of full well-being and contentment with yourself, with all the consciential principles and with the cosmos. In an active life governed by self-discernment. So the trinomial has to do with this. You feel well because you are well with other people, with the cosmos. And what is the basis? It's the self-discernment. I know what it is. I can use rationality. So what is a homeostatic trinomial? Is the motor continuous? Is the motivation for self-motivating results? I'm motivated for results that will motivate myself. So it's a feedback, a retro feeling of your motivation. So when you go into this continuous model, then we can keep it in a homeostatic way. And well-being, the trinomial is this constant experience of eudaimonia beyond the professional environment. Some people think that this trinomial is to work, to have your profession on something you like. But actually, you can have an activity, a professional activity on something you don't like so much. For example, if you wash dishes, it's something you don't like, but you can have this well-being because you are into a flow. So it goes beyond the professional environment. Prioritization is the clarity of cosmoetical values and advanced principles. And here is self-research. If you think about your values, well, my values are assistance, so it's very nice to say that. It's very nice to have, for example, the world peace, but look at your values, you look at your agenda and see what you are doing. So if you have anachronic values, you have to adjust this agenda from now on. If I'm still attached to anachronic values, I will not be able to have this trinomial in my practice. I have to recycle these values. And the evolutionary flow is the performance of a maxi-proexis to feel or to act as a mini-piece and to use your strong traits in a cosmoetical way, generating good results for everybody, for many people. And this is the flow giving you this self-motivation, and this is like a halo effect. Everything you do will generate other things around yourself, surrounding you in these environments. And at some point, you will reach a polykarmic level. For example, today I'm making this morning Tertulia translated into English and Spanish. And now self-motivation, this trinomial, has to do with the proexis. And in this proexis manual, Valdo Vieira says that in the executive phase, the conscience should already define their destiny for the rest of the current life. So when we suffer in this life, it's because we did not understand it. The more we understand things, the happier we become. So we are here to be happy. As we recycle things, we should be happier. Do we have questions now? Adele says, congratulations. It's a very good topic, and congratulations for this morning Tertulia. So let's go ahead. Thank you very much, Adele. So let's see some practical optimizations. We are talking about practical things here. So I'm bringing here some points. In my book, I will have other ones. But one of the biggest disorders or problems of humanity is the first one is dispersiveness. And the second one, well, I will bring here some practical aspects about this first point. So we have today Netflix, we have several tools from Disney, and the point is it a problem to watch these things? No, but if you, there are people watching this the whole day. Some people know all the series and all the programs from Netflix. They have watched 3-4 times the same series. So at this time, the person could do other things, could do self-research, could do other things more relevant for the life. And this is a kind of dispersiveness. And we have some books about this. These are some topics which need to be studied. And for example, there are people with many commitments with the family, with parties, with friends. This is very nice, but if it's excessive, then it will take your time. Social networks, people sometimes disrespect other people. Sometimes you are interacting with some friends and you are just looking at your mobile. So you lose the time, you miss the chance to interact, to talk. Some parents, for example, work the whole day, and when they come home in the evening, they only look at their mobiles. And there are other criticisms also. Some people go to the fitness center just to show up, just to be seen by others. So if you want to be interassistential and you are just posting your happiness in social networks, then, well, I'm not saying that you should not post, but you should balance these things. Cell phone games, some people spend hours playing these games. It's not a problem to play from time to time, but to be addicted to it. I have a case in my family. There is one guy, he's always playing games. Gym, I go to the fitness center, I like to go there, but there are people spending hours and hours. So promiscuity, people change the partners always, and not building up any solid relationship or evolutionary dual. And the person thinks only about sex and promiscuity. These are things to affecting your existential program. Disperse polymaty. Sometimes the person has one interest in one topic and then goes from one topic to the next and to the next. So the person is not able to dedicate or to focus on one topic. And I have here the syndrome of the wasted para-erudition. The person has a lot of knowledge, and this knowledge could be used for clarification tasks, but the person is not able to systematize this in an assistential way. And here is the sentence from Maximiliano Heim's book. He says that popular wisdom says that the human being gets used to everything in life. So the most intelligent posture is to actively seek to get used to feeling well-being and satisfaction with the things that are beneficial for self-evolution. So we have the assistential availability, For example, I go shopping with my mother, and normally she talks to the people in the shop. She's not there to shop, but to talk to others. And conscientiological teaching is also an opportunity in writing and clarifying films, movies. There are many very good. Reading, apart from novels, but really readings relevant for your life, and applied parapsychism to have pleasure, to move your energies, to install the vibrational state, and so on. And the volunteering is actually the highest, the top of these opportunities to help others. In terms of our profession, to choose the profession with a proexological look, not to just to choose something to bring you money, but to think about your proexis, unhappiness, to exit, to leave the semi-open regime. And I used to do in my work this research. It was always Friday. I used to ask them, well, today's Friday. And 95% of the times they said, the answer was, well, we are very happy, finally Friday. And the feeling was, well, Friday, finally. And the idea is I'm going to be happy during the weekend. So, good morning, everybody. I think with this research about Friday, I want to make you my question. In the definition of the verbate, we have the word execution of the proexis, and I think this is the most demanding part. We see that sometimes the person doesn't want to do it. So my question is how to combine the execution of your proexis with the intraphysical work. Yeah, this is actually the consciential posture. My relationship with my profession can be positive. It cannot be something hard for me. I can have a positive relationship with my work. For example, I work in an office. This is my reality. I will interact with other people. And how can I perform this work having a good day? I think I work with entrepreneurship, so I think this is very interessential. It generates work and more people involved. I think it's very good. I'm very happy. But I'm worried about the people within this environment of work. So my posture is I try to have it in a natural way. So at the end, we think, well, when I decimate, I will become an angel and I will play harp and I will make assistance. Well, if you don't do assistance, if you don't make this assistance now, you will not be able to continue. So it's a modus operandi you have to establish on your daily life. We have 24 hours a day, and I have a good feedback in my work. I used to work with many people, and the manager said, well, we will relocate the people, organize it in another way. And the people closer to me said, I don't want to leave Bortoleto. So they really liked to be close to me. And this came from the way I changed my manifestations. Some people were just complaining about things, and I made them reflect about other things. So good morning, everybody. Congratulations. Very good research. It's not a question, but it's a reflection with all this content. It's about the maintenance of motivation based on the recycling processes. To keep motivation has to do with self-research. And I thought about sometimes we want to do something, we have motivation, but to maintain this motivation depends on some skills you don't have. You have to start new things, you have to leave your comfort zone. And there is this question, am I able to overcome this condition? And many times we are not willing to make the change. And to keep the motivation, I think, has to do with these opportunities for recycling. Well, I'm bringing the basis of consciential therapy, which is to research about your discomfort. So what do you need to improve? And this is the way to evolve. And it has a lot to do with my personal manifestation, because sometimes I have to manifest using something I have not developed yet, and to adapt myself to a new reality and to reach my objectives. I have to generate this motivation. So it's a personal way, and how much the person can focus on this aspect of motivation. I will take your example. I will discuss about this in my book. Sometimes the person says, I have no motivation because I'm not happy here. So if the problem is an intraconsciential problem, it doesn't matter if she changed the profession. If she has a problem, interact with people. And this work is not good because I'm fighting with everybody and I need to change the work. When she changes or he changes, the problem will remain because it was not recycled. So without self-recycling, this problem will show up. And our tendency is to blame the environment. We say, well, these people are this and that, and I'm not able to interact with them. But if we take the responsibility to ourselves, then we have to understand what should we improve. I have a very practical example. I changed, the boss changed, but I still had the same problem. And I established a relationship with somebody, with one person very different from me. And nowadays I have no problems in terms of relationships with my boss. And this sounds strange, but this is how it is. We blame the boss, but when we change ourselves, then we understand the problem was not the boss, but with ourselves. So the problem will remain. So we have here the extra-physical. I'm now in an intraphysical work, and when I decimate, what will be the situation? So this is preparing for my desoma. for the extra physicality. Retirement, to plan it in a very intelligent way. I will have one chapter about it. So retirement is an opportunity to reach one condition, allowing you to work in a very positive way. The reserve, financial reserve, it's a very important aspect. You need to have financial intelligence to have freedom, independence, financial independence. I don't need to work any longer. So how can I reach this balance? I have to build up this. For most people, we need to build up. I did not have money before, so we have now to deal with people taking advantages of the moment. They want to get money from everybody. For example, with so many, there's so much. There is one case in the US, there was a gap or a lack of billions of dollars for the humanity. So we have to be careful not to place all our money in one investment. We can lose money very easily in moments of crisis. And you have to use your money in a good way and to give good use to your money.
And retrospective, evaluate paragenetics. What do you do? Where are you? Where do you interact? It is related to past lives. So it can give you hints relative to your self-research. This is the chart that I was talking about with a suggestion, a proposal. We have in the horizontal axis the evolutionary level, and then in the y-axis, euphoria, well-being, and malaise. So here is the cosmoetica eudaimonia, and down here, the malaise, depression, which is the high point of the malaise is depression. And then on the others, on top, euphoria. And we have a straight line here relative to cosmoetics. You're going to have here a mega euphorization, which is different from the euphoria. What am I proposing here? So the predominance of self-manifestation and the beginning of the evolution, it varies a lot. So you're euphoric and then you are depressive. So as the person evolves, this variation tends to be more focused on the well-being because you're going to master more the orthodoxity, so you're spending more time in a well-being manner. So when you stop thinking badly about people, you start increasing and you reach the praticity. At this point here, the Perto, you understand cosmoethics. So your well-being still oscillates. It's not the apex of evolution, but you no longer reach the intruded malaise. So you vary, you oscillate, but inside a well-being state. And then you keep going until you reach an evolutionologist point that you start to have a mega euphorization. So the self-motivation work-leisure trinomial lies here in this point. And it depends on self-research and self-recycling. You need to make an effort and self-improvement. And the more you go, the more cosmoethics increases. So we have here, from such an extraordinary consensual state, the consent inevitably reached little by little the intimate condition of harmoniology, balanceology, and even the mega euphorisiology in a habitual way. This is the consensual state experienced all the time by evolutiologists and serenissimi. So the more we evolve, we're going to reach this point here that we're going to act in a mega euphoric state. So here's the bottom line. Let's evolve. Because the more we evolve, the more well-being we have. So it is worthwhile. All this effort is worthy. So if you want to assist other people, the more well-being I have, then I'm going to pass it to other people, and then they're going to pass it to other people. So one of the cornerstones of the assistential process is to be an example. If you could come back on the previous slide, could you say something more about, because the chart is good resources, and maybe it's not exactly precise, but could you say something more? Because the self-motivation work leisure is after the deperticity. And maybe the idea of this concept that you're built from until now is that we are already able to apply the trinomial before deperticity. Could you explain it more relative to this graphic? Okay, so here on the top, there is no break between these moments, like variations, moods, beginning of the domain. Okay, maybe we can achieve self-motivation, work, leisure before deperticity, but we cannot sustain that. So you're living as an extrapolation and then you go down again. So when you reach the bottom and going towards malaise, you're no longer living or experience the trinomial. Because the trinomial indicates a constant motivation. And here in this bottom part, it shows that you have a demotivation. So before deperticity, we're oscillating a lot, you know? And the idea of the trinomial is this constant processor. Like Waldo Vieira, he worked a lot, Tertulia after Tertulia, he wrote a lot in a very great speed, okay? This is why I put it like the deperticity as a milestone. I was thinking about deperticity and the trinomial. So when we're talking about leisure, the healthy leisure was related to this relaxation and an intimate state, but the goal is egoic, but that's okay because it's positive. But here's the question, relative to the trinomial, is the idea that during her work, she or he can create leisure. For instance, so the person won't necessarily have a leisure like a break or be in the swimming pool or go to the movies. And here's the question. Is there any evolutionary point that the trinomial substitutes these breaks for leisure? and the person is still healthy and balanced, because in my evolutionary level, I see that it's important, these egoic breaks for leisure. Well, I need the healthy leisure in my moment as well. Sometimes I need to stop and watch a series, like a silly one, just to relax and turn off the brain and relax. And this is for me, it's okay. But this question is really interesting. I'm going to do two analogies. The first, when you're talking to a child that is playing with a toy, oh, you're not going to play with this toy no longer when you're adult. The child reaction, no, I love playing with this toy. I don't want to stop it. And there's no specific moment that you say, oh, you're going to stop playing with this. No, the child naturally stopped playing with that. There's a question that I asked uh, to Valdo. If the departed watches a soap opera, is it anti-cosmoethical? And he answered, the departed won't watch soap opera. He won't waste uh, his time with that. So I think it's like this. It's not something like, oh no, I will no longer go to swimming pool. It is a process that you've already achieved another level, and these things are no longer important for you. So this is why I say this. Sometime here in the ICCC, people say that they're sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, because they're in their leisure break. Uh, my sister has two kids, and when she went to the gym, she was feeling guilty to be there in the gym and not taking care of the children. And she felt this guilty, this guiltness. So it's not necessary. You don't need to have this level of guilty. It is an important moment for you, especially because it was working out and exercise. But when we reach the praticity, you start to letting go this type of activities, like lying down on the swimming pool to be there relaxing. But the more we evolve, you can let these things go. I really like this chart. If you could talk more about the chart. Okay, I'm going to. Because you put cosmoethics in this straight line. And as the hollow maturity is developed, so is the level of cosmoethics. So in the past, something that was cosmoethics for me to be, and today it doesn't make any sense anymore. So we can understand the answer of Waldo Vieira. No, the person does not watch soap opera. So watching soap opera is anti-cosmoethic. No, no, that's not it. It is no longer a part of his reality. Uh, the first version of this graph, I didn't put this arrow, the cosmoethics. And then I have some feedback, and look how these evolutionary friendships are important. They were talking about this and that, and then I had this idea from this straight arrow. But I think this is enriching the graph. Okay, Guilherme? Maybe it's also related to the chart. I'd like to talk about your paper that you say that one of the bases of the trinomial is the parapsychism. And I'm curious about that. How do you make a relationship between parapsychism and the trinomial? Or for me, they are attached. You have your energies. if you have a energetic well-being, and you need to have minimum mastering of your vibrational states. So you need to have a minimum mastering of parapsychism to understand self-defense in order to maintain the well-being. And then you're going to understand that you're not only this physical body, you're going to understand yourself as a multidimensional consciousness. And without that, only focus on intraphysical reality. You're going to be a victim of the multidimensional or extra physical realities. So for you to sustain your well-being, parapsychism is essential. Sometimes with the parapsychism, the person can perceive the amplitude of the human life and the motivation for work. Yes, Isa? Well, depending on the lucidity level of the consciousness, something that for some people is like a weird routine, watching a soap opera or a bad news, for that consciousness, she may be studying and amplifying his or her perception of the planet, of what is going on planet Earth. So I don't think that's the habit per se is the problem, but the main point is how we interact and face and work with the fact or the routine. Yes, we need to understand how to respect our and others' evolutionary level and our capacities. For sure, Pedro Fernandes is congratulating you. Very nice presentation with a lot of case and practical approaches. Our friend from Guadalupe, Mexico, is also is always watching this Tertulia. Okay, so we're reaching the final minutes. So if you can, oh, that's the final slide. Okay. So trinomial effects. Experience of cosmoetic eudaimonia, which is this continuous well-being, orthodoxity facilitated by the evolutionary flow. So if you're in the group Maxi Proexis and you're inside the evolutionary flow, it facilitates you to think better. Improvement of the personal evolutionary record, it is improvement as you make assistance. Construction of personal and group evolutionary legacy. And there's a very nice verbet written by Priscilla Cervello, which is the evolutionary legacy. Self-relay, because everything that we do in this life, we're preparing for the next one. Pre-intermissiology, the higher our well-being, we can work better in the barytrosphere because it is a continuous motor. So if we learn how to deal with that, it helps with the pre-intermissiology. And at last, mega fraternology, conviviology, solidarity, and mega fraternity. Let's start tolerating people and then respecting and then helping people. So these interaction with consciousness work, helping build mega fraternology. So here you have my email, feel free to get in contact. And I'm writing my book. It's already in the revision mode in Editaris, and probably we have a launch soon. Instructor Eduardo, thank you very much. Your good humor helps a lot to understand the theme. It is very light and with a good humor. and it is easier to understand. We're grateful. We are waiting your book, and this was very special week because it was the Waldo Vieira and the Moacir Gonçalves birthdays. They were really big examples in this trinomial self-motivation, work and leisure. So let's follow Waldo Vieira examples because he had a great evolutionary legacy. All the Tertulians, thank you. And today, this cornerstone, the beginning of the Tertulia in other language. So the punctuations here you can follow. So good morning for the debaters. Very grateful. Good reflections, and see you in the next Sunday.